Okay, here is your warm-up before we start the new stuff. I'm just gonna write the answers in so you can stop the video and do this. Okay, let's start with, before we look at the first example, this isn't in your notes, but I want you to read this postulate. So we're going to find some easier ways to prove two figures are similar. One of the shortcuts, or one of the easy ways to show that two triangles or two figures are similar, is called the angle-angle similarity postulate. So the angle-angle similarity postulate says if there are two angles on one triangle congruent to two corresponding angles on another, then the two triangles are similar. Because you can kind of then conclude that by logic, then the third angle must also be congruent. So we're going to learn a couple other shortcuts, but this is the first one. Let's look at the first example then. The triangles shown are similar, so actually you don't have to show anything similar. First, let's write a similarity statement, and then we'll write a proportion to solve for x. So for part A, if you match up your corresponding angles, triangle XYT would be similar with triangle XZW. All right. Okay, let's set up a proportion to solve for x. So if you notice in this big triangle here in red, these two sides here are proportional and they're corresponding in green. So I know that 15 must be to 20, just like 17 minus x must be to 17. I got the 17 minus x from looking at this base. This whole base is 17. And if this little part here in black is x, then I must know that this little part here is 17 minus x. And that's important because it's actually the leg on one of my triangles. Okay, so if you solve this proportion, you should get 4.25 is x. If you look at part B, let's start by writing a similarity statement. These lines here are parallel, which means you should have some angles that are congruent. You can see that if these two lines are parallel here, then, and this side is congruent, think about this being your transversal. This angle here must be congruent with this angle here because they're alternate interior angles. So you have two angles and you have your angle-angle similarity statement, so you can know that these two triangles are similar. So let's write a similarity statement here now that we know where our angles are congruent and corresponding. So this will be the third angle. So I know that triangle JLM must be similar with triangle L. So here I start with J, I start with my 2 marks, so I've got to start with my 2 marks again. And in my first one I go from J to L. And so this one I'm going to need to go from L to J. So L, J, K. Alright, now I need to figure out how to set up a proportion to solve for x. So if you look at your corresponding sides, you should see that 8.2 is corresponding with x. So x over 8.2 must equal, now this is something we haven't done yet before, but this third side is actually the same on both of the triangles. So this side is corresponding and it's proportional, so just go with it. 11.4 must be proportional to 11.4, and they're actually equal. So you should know then, just by looking at this proportion, x should be 8.2. All right. Example 2 is actually asking you to decide if the two figures are similar or not. So the first figure, you have this 90-degree angle marked, so you've got one angle. If we want to use our new information, we need at least two to say that these two figures are similar. So you're going to need to use your parallel lines here and think about this being your transversal. With that, you should see that these two angles here and here are congruent because they're corresponding. So you've got two corresponding angles congruent, so these two shapes are similar. So triangle ABD is similar with triangle BCE. Okay, let's look at part B. All right, we've got a bunch of angles here. So I want to know if this triangle here in blue is similar to this one in green. Currently, this 80-degree angle here at angle P is shared by both of my two figures, but I need at least another angle that I know is the same on both. So if I do some quick math here, I can figure out that this angle right here is 40 degrees. So this little triangle in blue here has three angles, 40, 60, and 80. But only one of those matches with the triangle in green. So you need at least two, which means no, these are not similar. And that is because all of the you've got no two corresponding angles are congruent. Okay, let's write a proof. We haven't done these in a while. Should have had a little nice picture there for us. Okay, let's start with our given. Our given's the markings on the picture. So we're given that angle XYT is congruent with angle W. All right, our goal, I'm just going to write my last line. It's a short one. Our last line, our goal is that triangle YXT is similar to triangle WXZ. So I'm going to highlight that. I want to have like a game plan here. YXT would be this one. We want this to be similar to WXZ, which is this one here. So using what we learned at the beginning of the lesson is that you just need two angles that are corresponding and congruent. So notice that this angle here is shared by both of those two triangles. So let's mark that in our proof. We know that angle X is congruent to itself, and that's reflexive. So we actually have enough information now to say that these two triangles are congruent because we have two pairs of corresponding angles congruent, or I guess we have two corresponding angles congruent. So the reason why we can say these are similar is because of the angle-angle similarity postulate. You can just write angle-angle is fine. All right, we will do more tomorrow.